Fizbans Treasury of Dragons has been announced, and in honor, I want to talk about my all-time favorite D&D dragon. Find out what that is next. Polymorph Paradise. Hi, I'm Jason. This is Polyhedra Paradise. If you're new to the channel and you like what we do here, please feel free to like and subscribe. If you're returning, thank you so much. Let's get into the video. So now, Fizbans Treasury of Dragons has been announced, and a while back I did a live stream where I talked about my favorite D&D dragon. Now, it was part of a hour and 20-minute long live stream, but the segment I did was short, so I wanted to rebroadcast to you guys so we can talk about my favorite dragon, the Steel Dragon. Now, as of yet, the Steel Dragon has not made an appearance in 5th edition. So what I'm going to be covering in this video is what the Steel Dragon was like in all the other editions. Now, maybe with Fizban, we'll get a peek at a 5th edition Steel Dragon. Maybe not. But it really goes down as one of my all-time favorite dragons, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to kind of go off the cuff here. I want to talk about my my favorite type of dragon of all time. And this dragon has not made an appearance in 5th edition yet. But it has in my game. It's a steel dragon. Yeah, a steel dragon. Now, steel dragon differs from a silver dragon in a lot of different ways. First of all, physically, when you look at a silver dragon, the silver dragons look like a solid piece of silver. There's no lines, you can't see scales, and they have a very pronounced mohawk. But steel dragons are different because you look at them and they look like they have like splints and banding all over them. Like it's very segmented, regimented, and their movements are very feline like. They're really kind of slate and cat like, and they have runes that cover their body and their wings, but we're gonna get back to what the runes are in a minute. Like silver dragons, steel dragons love to polymorph and spend time around humans. Now, silver dragons like to pretend to be humans, polymorphing and hanging out with them, going on adventures with them. They're very friendly to humans. But the difference with steel dragons is they actually spend time being human. Because when steel dragons polymorph, they do not come out of their polymorph. Yeah, it's crazy. Steel dragons, they actually want to live the life of humans. So what happens is they pick a form that they want to inhabit. They polymorph into human form, and they remain that way. They will not come out of their polymorph for any reason. And that's the biggest difference. They won't reveal to anybody that they're steel dragons. They are so immersed in becoming humans that they don't flip back and forth. Now, what's interesting is their polymorph is so strong and so specific that once they pick a new life, and we'll get into what happens in between their different lives that they pick. Once they polymorph in a new form, after 30 days, they have an ability called Guy's Empowerment. After 30 days of tuning to their new form, their human form actually picks up all the traits of their dragon form. So they have the strength of a dragon, the agility of a dragon, the hit points, the durability of their dragon form while they're still in human form. So they never have to polymorph out of being a dragon in order to survive things like an attack on them, or like a fall from great heights, or they keep all their magic resistances while they're in human form. which is exceptional because That's actually the strongest polymorph out there of any. Chris says because steel dragons are jerks. No, steel dragons are awesome. That's actually the strongest polymorph, because most of the time, once something polymorphs into human form, they're susceptible to all the frailties of the human form, but not steel dragons. Their body also has something called time touching. Their polymorph actually ages on its own. While they sleep, while they go about their life, their polymorph form ages. So they don't have to spend time making themselves look older. Their body will actually change with the time. So that's the biggest difference in the polymorph form of a steel dragon versus a silver dragon. But it gets crazier than that. While they're polymorphed into human form, they actually have the ability to bypass most spells that would be able to identify them as a dragon. So you would never know that they're actually a dragon. For all intents and purposes, they become a human. Also, while they're in human form, they're able to reproduce. And their offspring are actually humanoid. That's how strong their polymorph is. Because usually when you have a dragon that is polymorphed and they copulate with another person, the offspring is usually half dragon. But because their polymorph is so complete, because they want to live so completely as humans, they actually have human or because they don't just have to be humans, they can be dragonborns or other things. Humanoid, they actually have humanoid offspring. Now those offspring down the line will have like draconic ancestry traits. Like if they were to become sorcerers, they would show up down the line, but their form would still be human. They're pretty hardcore. So what happens is when they live their life as this human, but because their curse or their mission is like they want to they have to go through this ritual at the end of their life that's called vaulting. What they do is they go into this deep meditative state right before they choose their new form, and their memories of their previous life are erased. Because they're true neutral creatures, and these dragons want to experience all facets of human life without being bound to any type of moral code, they have to purge themselves of the memories of their previous life. So one life they could live as a farmer, one life they could live as a murderous dictator. And because they don't want the two lives to influence the other one, they actually go through the ritual of vaulting, and it purges their memories. Through the whole thing, they always know that they're dragons, but their past lives get sort of swept under the rug, and it completely wiped from their memory. But before they vault, what they'll do is they will take and create some sort of work of art. And this is where we get into their hoard, their treasure. They'll create a work of art based on the life that they live. Say they spent 30 years as a painter, they'll create this beautiful work of art, and that will go into their lair. That'll be put away. Or if they were a magician or a wizard, they'll craft some sort of spell, and that will be noted, written down, and placed in their treasure room, which is locked away. If they were some sort of teacher, they will pen some sort of book that tells everything that they've learned in this life. Because what they want to do is they want to accumulate a large what is it called? Their treasure hoard is basically all these works of art that they can create through all their different lives. I know I might be getting a little off top here. Night, Gray. So right before they vault, they take their work of art and they place it in their treasure room. So one of the most interesting things about it is they take their because they put themselves in these different situations through these different lives. They use their fear aura in different ways. They use it 3 different ways. They can manifest. They can do what's called manifestation, which means that people around them must heed what they say. They can have the power of obscurement, which means that people basically will ignore them. And then they also have the power of emotion control, which means they can control the emotions of a large crowd. So say a steel dragon wanted to become a king, or if he wanted to become a big ruler, he could use his fear aura in a different way to control the emotions of a crowd, get them all riled up. Or say he wanted to be a protester, a rabble rouser, he could do it that way. Or if he wanted to be a good salesman, he could use his fear aura in a completely different way. So he's like, steel dragons are like completely manipulative while they're in human form. I hate it sounds manipulative, but it's really not. It's just using their fear aura in a different way. So all these lives together, they is called the chain of lives. After they vault and they move on and pick their next life, they will spend 1 to 2 years actually out of their polymorph as like a full-on steel dragon, at which point they will pick another dragon to mate with. This is where it starts to get interesting, as if it wasn't interesting already. So they'll pick another steel dragon to mate with, and once they do that, those 2 steel dragons will have a life together. It's usually like far away in a secluded town or somewhere out of the way. They'll mate and they'll have little baby dragon eggs. Now, at that point, they'll spend the next, So they'll spend 2 years after they pick who they want to mate with. Those 2 dragons will go and move into a life together, and they'll have offspring, and they'll raise those steel dragons. Half the time they'll spend polymorphed in a human form, half the time they'll spend unpolymorphed in draconic form, and they'll teach that kid about integrating in with society, teach them about themselves, teach them about how to what the purpose is of steel dragon. But the very last thing they'll teach them how to do is vault, where they move on to the next life. And once that child vaults, once the baby steel dragon vaults, that'll be the last time they see their parents, because as soon as that child vaults, it forgets its entire life, the previous life. It forgets its mother and its father, and then it picks a life for it to start, and it'll probably pick a nice easy life to get itself acclimated. It'll probably be a baker, or it'll probably be a painter, something small, and then it'll begin its own treasure hoard. Now what steel dragons will do is, through their lives, they will pick people that they interact with to age link with. It's a process called age linking. So they will mentally imprint on people that it meets around it, and most of the time these people won't even know. But for everybody it age links with, it creates a little rune on its body. Now here's where we get back to the runes. Now, when they vault and go into the next life, they need sort of spies and networks out in the world. They need to know what's going on in the world. What do they want to become for the next life? What's going on out there? So they will mentally link up with all these people they have met through all their different lives, and subconsciously they will be fed information in a dream state. And that's sort of how they will make the decision what they will be next. But most of those people will never know. But throughout their life, there's only one person that will ever know a steel dragon's true identity, and that's who the steel dragon picks to soul bond with. Now, there's one thing that a steel dragon requires. Now, it requires one true friend, one person that knows its secret, one person that no matter what happens with the steel dragon throughout its numerous different lives, its lives through over the 1,000 or 2,000 years this dragon's going to be alive and going through this reincarnation cycle and picking these new lives, it needs one true friend that it can trust, that friend will always be there and associated with it through all its different lives. And that friend is usually of a very long-lived race, so it can match the steel dragon's lifespan. It's usually, for the most part, it's usually an elf or a dwarf. And when the steel dragon goes through the vaulting process and through the mating process and then picks its next life, its soul bond friend is there right there alongside it, to help it get acclimated to its new life. And it's usually considered its sidekick, but it's not just that. The soul bonded friend of a steel dragon has one last function to serve, and it's the most important function that is laid out there, that the steel dragon considers like the most important thing that it can do. Once the steel dragon has gone through all these different lives and created all these works of art and has created this massive hoard of treasure, it's a treasure hoard. When the steel dragon finally goes through his last life and dies and goes through the death process, it is the job of the soul bonded friend to then take its hoard and disperse its hoard, its art collection, out to the world. And this can be any way that the soul bonded friend chooses to hand it out there. And it can be sold at an auction. It can be dropped off at an art museum. Wayne says beers are hitting me like a redheaded jealous woman. You have a good night, my friend. Wayne, take it easy, buddy. So it's incumbent upon the soul bonded friend to hand out the collection of all the steel dragon's life's works out to the world, because that, at the end of the day, what the steel dragon believes is that IMHO has given it this responsibility to go forth and learn all it can about humans and create all these works of arts and increase knowledge upon the world. And it's the soul bonded friend's job to release those works of art and the culmination of the steel dragon's many lives onto the world upon its death. And that symbiotic relationship between the soul bonded friend and the steel dragon being basically the living embodiment of reincarnation, and the fact that it never comes out of its polymorph unless like absolutely 100% necessary. Like, as a DM, to have that type of character in your hip pocket, that type of creature that, like, for the most part, only you are ever going to know what that thing really is, I am infatuated with, and I absolutely love the concept and the character of the steel dragon. And that's why it is my absolute all-time favorite dragon. So that was it. Quick and to the point. I know it lacked a little bit of polish, but I wanted to give it to you as the way I presented it on my live stream, warts and all. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you can find a way to incorporate steel dragons into your gaming table, because I tell you what, they are a Dungeon Master's dream. I wasn't kidding about that. Well, thank you all for watching. All of our socials are linked in the link tree in the description. If you're interested in more information about Nerdhalla Network, check out nerdhalla.net. And remember, in the game of life, may you always roll with advantage, and I'll catch you all in the next video.